Hello, thanks for joining us. This is Nationwide. I'm Ruth Aguele. The federal government, through the Office of the Head of Service, has embarked on a capacity-building initiative for enhanced performance of workers in the public service. The initiative, tagged LEAP B, is a merit-based system targeted at driving the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025, a successor to the 2017 to 2020 Implementation Plan, being championed by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. The Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemieson, says the initiative would promote service improvement across ministries, departments and agencies in the public sector. She was speaking at the 44th State House press briefing in Abuja.
Pillars are tailored to re-engineer the service for increased productivity and quality service delivery.
Talent management, innovation, transforming the service through a knowledge-driven approach and effective reward system would guide the new paradigm. Lagos and Ekiti state governments were commended for the successful reforms in their public services. And still on public service, Nigerian civil servants have been urged to key into the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025 to ensure its success. Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemieson, said these during a message at a capacity-building workshop for directors, heads of reforms, coordination and service improvement across ministries, departments and agencies in the Federal Civil Service. Haman Jabani reports. We apologize for that mix-up there and loss of audio. We'll bring you the report in the course of the bulletin. Let's turn to legislative affairs. Senate is reaffirming its commitment to law reforms that will meet global standards for the benefit of all. President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, said this in a message to a day one public hearing on 7 bills bordering on judiciary, human rights and legal matters. National Assembly correspondent Mobolaji Moribiri reports.
It was the first courtesy call on the President of the Senate after the resumption of National Assembly from Salah break. With challenges of industrial conflict in tertiary institutions, this engagement is seen as an important one. The focal point here for President of the Senate was on the urgent need to return students to school, as he urged relevant authorities to consider a review of the curriculum in the colleges of education to attract more enrollment. The committee agrees with the idea and also sought the amendment of the Federal Colleges of Education Establishment Act.
If we have to reverse the present trend, it means we have to review even what we teach in most of our institutions. And similarly, our polytechnics, maybe some things they do these days, I think maybe require that the legislature should look into it. A polytechnic will now be given certificates in education, in everything, usurping some functions of the colleges of education.
Our funding is so insignificant that even where the colleges rely on ITR, the ITR is not forthcoming because they are not students that we can use.
Meanwhile, Minority Leader of the Senate, Senator Philip Aduda, says the People's Democratic Party caucus in the Senate will embark on reconciliatory engagement as it has resolved to meet aggrieved members.
The PDP caucus of the Senate resolved to meet the presidential candidate of our party and his vice presidential candidate, the running mate, to achieve cohesion and total peace in our party.
The caucus noted that the party needs unity and cohesion ahead of the 2023 general elections. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Apologize for the mix-up there. That report was, by the Senate to review curriculum in colleges of education to attract more enrollment. We'll bring you the one on judicial bills in the subsequent bulletin. So let's turn to House of Representatives, which we hear has passed for second reading a bill to amend the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board Act. During the second reading of the bill sponsored by Representative Tolutokbe Shadikbe, House members expressed strong disapproval of the current practice where candidates, despite scoring the cut-off mark but unable to obtain admission, are compelled to again sit for the same exams in subsequent years. This practice, House members argued, is unfair. The bill has proposed a minimum number of years as valid period for candidates to use JAM results to apply for admission. The bill has been referred to Committee on Tertiary Education and Services for further legislative action. To other issues, the federal government says subsidy for petrol will be fully or partially provided for in the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework. Musa Abubakar reports that the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said this at a public consultative forum on the fiscal strategy paper in Abuja.
This gathering of stakeholders is convened to provide the needed input to bolster the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework of the federal government. Instead, questions were raised on continued fuel subsidy payment, revenue generation, and debt levels of the country.
It's important for us to consider this issue of the removal of fuel subsidy very, very seriously, because no marketer is willing to buy PMS after sourcing the foreign exchange and come and sell it at control price. It can only be a government agency, and in this case, NBC, on the instruction.
Oftentimes I hear that we talk about borrowing. Is borrowing a bad thing? No, it's not. It depends on what you are borrowing for. If you are borrowing for consumption, then it is bad. But if you are borrowing for production, it is good.
The framework projects that real GDP will grow at 3.75% in 2023, up from a revised projection of 3.55% for 2022. Growth is expected to moderate to 3.30% in 2024 before picking up to 3.46% in 2025. The business as usual scenario of the framework is that 6.72 trillion naira subsidy for full year 2023 will remain and fully provided for, while in the reform scenario, only 3.36 trillion naira will be provided for. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
All right, we head to Lagos now to join Hingino to pick up with the next set of reports.
Thank you, Ruth. As the fight to subdue various forms of criminality in several parts of the country continues, Lagos State government is poised to intensify logistic funding and support to ensure security agents, especially the police, are kept on red alert across the metropolis. Deputy Governor Bafemi Hamzat disclosed this when he granted audience to the Board of Trustees of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund at the State House in Lagos. Musa Toliat reports.
Organized crimes are dynamic and only well-equipped and motivated security agency can gather effective intelligence with a view to curbing such security breaches or nipping it in the bud. Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat noted that Nigeria Police needs all the support it can attract to deliver on its constitutional responsibilities. Hence, Lagos State Government is determined to offer support to enhance the crime-fighting capabilities of the Nigerian police formations in the state.
We need to support Nigerian police if government's role is to protect lives and properties of citizens. The people that are constitutionally enshrined to do that are the police. So it's only logical that we do whatever we need to do to train them, to equip them, and make sure. And that's why Lagos State initially set up this State Security Trust Fund, so that we can raise the revenue necessary outside of budget to actually also assist Nigerian police, which we've been doing.
We are here on a fact-finding mission to check all our facilities to know those ones that are decaying, where the trust fund will come in. You understand? Those ones to be rehabilitated, those ones that can totally do with brought down and will rebuild.
He, however, advised the Board of Trustees of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund to explore sustainable partnership with the organized private sector so that funds can be made available for its projects and refurbishment of its facilities. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
One of Nigeria's staple food, bread, will be off the shelves for some days as bakers have resolved to commence a 4-day warning strike to press home their demands for reduction in prices of baking materials. Bakery owners said the decision was reached after several deliberations. Abolade Salami reports.
Statistics hazard that Nigeria's bread subsector is growing at a faster pace, with 72% of the multi-millionaire market dominated by small and medium-scale bakers. The vast market opportunities in the industry is attributed to the volume of consumption, as packaged bread meal grew at 3.4% relative to the 2.3% growth rate of unpackaged bread. This figure may likely drop as operators in the business seem not to be on the same page this time around with manufacturers of flour and other baking materials, owing to the hike in prices of commodities coupled with other charges.
We have to strike. Why? Because the flour is too cost. Before it was 17,500, but now it's 30,000. Now do you still 200 naira bread at all? Why? Because the cost of the flour, the sugar, butter, and other ingredients that we use. Both good. Or one bag is how much? Let's say 30,000. Now you were buying it before that was like 10,000, 12,000, 15,000.
Since the sharp increment in prices of baking materials, the price of packaged bread is now sold between 700 to 1,000 naira, while unpackaged bread now goes for 200 and 500 naira, depending on their sizes.
We are selling 200, 150, 250. But now big one is 350. So small one is 300. 250.
It's very, very sad because bread is one thing we Nigerians do joke about. Especially me, I don't joke about bread. So it's just like they should come together and then just find a solution to dissolve this whole strike about bread.
In an effort to sustain the market and daily production level for consumption, the need for all concerned bodies to, as a matter of urgency, resolve the impasse stakeholders identify as crucial. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for a break. Nationwide, we'll be back with Felicia in just shortly.
Still watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. Welcome to Just. Governor Simon Lalong says he will not hesitate to assent to bills that have direct bearing on the lives of women, children, and the vulnerable in the society. He gave this indication in Jos while interacting with leaders of coalition of civil society organizations in the state. Caleb Gochin has details.
Representatives of the various civil society groups in Plateau State are coming under the auspices of Coalition of Civil Society Organizations to interact with Governor Simon Lalong on ways of ensuring good governance. Leader of the delegation, Gat Peter Shamaki, appreciates the governor for his administration's giant strides in human capital and infrastructural development, and particularly for the establishment of the Plateau's Peace Agency, which has helped in promoting and entrenching the culture of peace. While applauding the governor for passing the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law and other meaningful bills, he pledges a continuous partnership with the state government. Governor Simon Lalong commends the coalition for always keeping government in check through their programs. He pledges to actualize passage of more bills that have direct bearing, especially on women, children, and the vulnerable, as well as implement all laws passed by his administration.
Every bill that came through the National Assembly or we did your best, and that is what informed our people in adopting in our city.
The governor also appeals to the civil society to remain vanguards of peace. In Jos, Caleb Gochin, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the State Ministry of Health is taking steps towards improving routine immunization in the 17 local government areas of the state. This was at a review meeting of health workers in Jos. Again, Caleb Gochin reports.
Health remains the major component in the well-being of humans, and this the meeting is underscoring, taking cognizance of the prevailing health challenges confronting nations, especially the African continent. These major stakeholders in the health sector in Plateau State are here to assess their performances in the last quarter and chart a way out of the challenges being confronted with.
The aspect of routine immunization, our performances has not been quite encouraging as it used to be, and this has been as a result of myriad of problems. Yeah, we can look at also from the issue of the human resource. The LGAs are not good enough to take care of all the health facilities that are carrying out routine immunization.
For these officials at the local government level, the interaction will further enhance their performances on the job.
My expectation for this second quarter review meeting is to improve the performance of my local government on both immunization and disease surveillance.
My expectation here is to know where I'm lacking, where I need to improve, and with what we have seen here, seriously, there will be great improvement as we go back to our places of work.
In Jos, Caleb Gochin, NTA News.
And that's it from Jos. Ruth, it's back to you in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Thank you, Felicia. All right, let's take you back to the report we called about the Senate on a hearing for 7 judicial bills. Mobolaji Marubiri will tell us about it.
5 out of the 7 bills before the committee are for repeal and reenactment to remove all bottlenecks associated with the legal profession. They are the one for the amendment of the Administration of Criminal Justice, the Federal High Court, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition, and the Firearms Repeal and Reenactment Act, as well as the amendment of compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots. Other establishment bills are the Franchise Regulation Bill and the African Union Convention on the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons.
The bills before us today are legislative proposals that are geared toward justice sector reform and the administration of justice in the country for the enhancement of quick dispensation of justice.
I am confident we are ready to do this given our requisite experiences. While you should be rest assured that the committee will be respectful of your ideas, we are always inclined.
These are the views of stakeholders at the hearing.
On the Federal High Court, it is a welcome development.
It is better if we allow it to come into the bill to form a statutory regulation to work alongside with the case law regulations.
We in human rights don't think that the death penalty should be sustained.
Compulsory treatment on gunshot
victims. We also support that bill and we have made some comments.
Members, local, international, are delighted about this bill, and we urge this National Assembly to expedite action on the passage of the franchise bill.
These bills are expected to further strengthen the judicial system. From the National Assembly, Mobolaji, Moribiri, NTA News.
A look at the aviation. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has suspended Dana Airlines air transport license and air operator certificate indefinitely with effect from midnight of Wednesday 20th July 2022. The suspension was made pursuant to Section 35, subsection 2, 3B and 4 of the Civil Aviation Act 2006 and Part 1.333A1 of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Regulations 2015. In a statement by the authority, the suspension order handed down by the Director General, Captain Musa Nuhu, has since been communicated to the management of Dana Airlines. The decision is the outcome of a financial and economic health audit carried out on the airline by the authority and the findings of an investigation conducted on the airline's flight operations recently, which revealed that Dana Airlines is no longer in a position to meet its financial obligations and to conduct safe flight operations. The statement further explained that the authority acknowledges the negative effect this preemptive decision will have on the airline's passengers and seek their understanding as the safety of flight operations takes priority over all other considerations. Following restructuring of some electricity distribution companies to avoid insolvency, the conversation continues among industry players in the power sector for a holistic master plan to reform the sector. At a dialogue to address challenges in the Nigerian electricity supply industry, federal government and players in the sector identify liquidity crisis as one of the major challenges in the post-privatization era of the sector. While federal government interventions, industry players describe as timely. The conversation is also to eliminate quackery in the sector for efficiency.
Prepare credible long-term master plan spanning at least 30 years for the development of electricity in Nigeria. The master plan should be broken down to 5-year rolling plans with practicable, realizable targets for each sector. Preparation of the master plan should be carried out using international best practices in consultation with policymakers and stakeholders in the industry. We need to restructure and strengthen the regulatory agencies.
We've had a situation where just anyone is seen in the power industry. And that is one of the problems that have created this crisis. Every industry must be seen to have its professionals.
Still in power, the transmission company of Nigeria, TCN, says nationwide power supply has been restored following grid disturbance that occurred on Wednesday, 20th July 2022. A statement by the TCN explains that the incident was as a result of sudden drop in system frequency, which created system instability. Also, a tripping of a unit with a load of 106 megawatts in one of the generating stations due to exhaust over temperature, which pulled out other grid-connected units in the plant, resulted in loss of 457 megawatts and culminated in the collapse of the national grid. TCN says it is committed to leveraging the concerted interventions to enhance power supply reliability so that the issue of system collapse will be a thing of the past. The need to diversify the nation's economy and address dependency on oil has resonated at a two-day retreat on the impact of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 on the Federation account held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Joy Ubani will tell us about it.
The oil and gas industry has played a major role in the country's economy, contributing to the nation's gross domestic product. Industry also accounts for over 80% of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and 60% of its total income. To position the industry for ultimate performance in the light of the Petroleum Industry Act, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, whose responsibility is to monitor accuracy into the disbursement of revenue from the federal accounts, is holding this two-day retreat.
The Commission is organizing this retreat in order to engage with the various stakeholders and address some of the gray areas in the Act to ensure seamless implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act in order to optimize federation revenue.
Governor of Akwa Ibom State, represented by his deputy Moses Ekpo, harps on efforts of industrialized nations to wean themselves of dependence on oil, and that Nigeria shall emerge strong.
We should begin to explore alternative sources that depend on foreign earnings.
Stakeholders from 36 states, including Abuja, are represented at the retreat, which has as its theme Petroleum Industry Act 2021 and its impact on the Federation revenue. In Uyo, Joy Ubani, NTA News.
Equitable distribution and access to water globally is premised on integrated water resources management, where the rights of all stakeholders are respected. This, key players on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria say, is what the National Water Resources Bill seeks to provide for Nigeria. They noted that the bill, contrary to arguments, will consolidate existing laws, making it more inclusive. Lydia Sampson reports.
Minister for Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, who joined the conversation on Good Morning Nigeria, says, given the merits of the bill, it was baffling that they generated arguments from the state governments. He's optimistic that the bill will help Nigeria not just key into international best practices on water resources management, but also the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. He gave an assurance that the arguments are misplaced.
They simply want to play politics with the bill. And this bill is something that is meant to reposition the water resource sector of the country. And I don't think it is right and in the interest of the country for them to be doing this. They should arm themselves with a clear knowledge of what the provisions of the bill are, rather than causing hysteria in the country.
The reviewed bill before the National Assembly, the guest noted, had addressed concerns raised by some governors and former governors. They reiterate that Section 3.1 of the bill not only reaffirms the state government's powers and rights, which are not tempered with, rather gives clarity.
And if somebody comes wants to do also in around Yola, that he wants to do also on River Benue, they can do it. And for that period, do you know the confluence will cease to exist? The delta will cease to exist as it is. Those are possibilities under this present act. But when you harmonize integrated water resources management, it cannot happen. Because you come to that decision, there has to be every stakeholder coming.
At the end of the day, an integrated water system management approach allows for effective coordination. People are able to work in harmony while continuing to respect their powers and their different terrains.
They are unanimous that the country stands to gain when the bill becomes an omnibus law encompassing the issues around water supply chains. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Our next stop will be Maiduguri. Abubakar is ready for us.
That's true. It's always good to see you, and thank you for joining us here. Let's begin with issues concerning security now. The United Nations Mine Action Services has trained 24 police officers from the Borno State Command on application and detonation of improvised explosive devices and the use of first aid equipment. On completion of the 10 weeks training in various specialist areas, the police officers were presented certificates in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Here are more details of the story.
The more than a decade-long Boko Haram insurgency experienced in Borno has rendered many communities unsafe, considering the number of landmines and IEDs planted to cause destruction of lives and property. Worried by this phenomenon, the United Nations Mine Action Services, in collaboration with Borno State Police Command, decided to train 24 EOD personnel differently
as improvised explosive device disposal instructors, medical first aid instructors, improvised explosive device disposal equipment basic operators, as well as medical first aid operators within a period of 10 weeks. The idea, according to the organizers, was basically to enhance techniques of the participants, who are mostly junior officers, to effectively mitigate explosive threats and confidently respond to emergency situations.
The beneficiaries of the OMAS training will be utilized as resource persons to impart their knowledge on other.
I must appreciate the Nigerian police force is supporting the urgent need to continue to provide life-saving mine action activities to the most vulnerable people affected in Northeast Nigeria.
This development is also expected to provide security within returnee communities across Borno. And still on issues that have to do with security, poverty and unemployment have remained major factors in the rising conflict situations in many hotspots across the globe, including the current myriad of security challenges affecting the Nigerian state. This and other issues formed part of a one-day security sensitization workshop organized by the Borno State Emergency Management Agency and Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, held in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Murjanatu Hassan was there for NTA News.
The one-day security sensitization workshop with the theme Security is Everybody's Business drew participants from various security formations and traditional institutions aimed at rubbing minds towards bringing to an end the over a decade insurgency. Director General of State Emergency Management Agency, Yaba Kolo, who described the workshop as timely, said there is need for authorities concerned to push ahead and bring solutions towards total restoration of peace in the region and the country.
We ensure that people are more informed, more educated, to see that we achieve the security so much that we desire.
Yaba Kolo commended Governor Babagana Umar Zulum for creating job opportunities for the teeming unemployed youth. Representative of Director General Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency NIMASA said the target is to look at critical perspectives of security challenges and share ideas on how to tackle the challenges.
We believe everybody will be able to make their contribution. So when we keep relating, we'll be able to find solutions to security challenges.
Dr. Bello of the Borno State Command of the Nigerian Police and Dr. Musa Kondego from the University of Maiduguri identified communal and social challenges as key factors fueling insecurity and charged civil society, media, private sector, as well as traditional institutions to join the campaign in doing the needful. Meanwhile, DG Tema has received security gadgets donated by NIMASA alongside educational materials to 5 secondary schools in the state. In Maiduguri, Janaki Hassan, NTA News.
If you're just joining us, you're onto Nationwide on Africa's window to the world, the Nigerian Television Authority. Let's take another commercial break now, but Adebola in Ibadan will be back with another set of stories for us thereafter.
To know you're still tuned to Nationwide on the Nigerian Television Authority. Welcome to Ibadan. First Public Relations Officer CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi says the increasing rate of immorality, crime wave, and other social vices among youths is worrisome and called for urgent intervention by relevant stakeholders in securing the future of the Nigerian youth. He stated this in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, at a public lecture organized by the Federal College of Education, Oshele. Yemi Dalimo reports.
Speaking on the topic insecurity and get-rich-quick syndrome, the implications for the Nigerian society, the first PRO, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, decried the craze for wealth and material possessions among youth and called on relevant stakeholders to play their part effectively in curbing the menace to evolve a better society. CSP Adejobi also stressed the need for Nigerians to be more committed to the affairs of God to have a crime-free society.
We need to undergo certain transformations, starting from personal transformations that individuals in Nigeria must change their psyche towards security in Nigeria. They must see assisting security agencies as a civic responsibility. There is structural transformation. We need to reveal our structures so that all of them can be functional and towards having good delivery in this country.
We need to look into what are the problems abound in our society, right? Not only in educational balance, but generally. And we have discovered that the issue of insecurity is germane to especially to our youth that we produce.
The first PRO, CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, was later recognized with an award of excellence in recognition of the unique role being played by the Nigerian police force in stemming the tides of insecurity. In Abeokuta, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
Indiscriminate dumping of refuse on waterways and drainages, construction and drainages, among other factors, have been identified as remote causes of flooding. Grace Ayonleke was on the entourage of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps in Oyo State as they took a flood disaster sensitization train to the Akorede Community Market, Odono Kekere, Oluyole local government area of Ibadan.
With predictions of heavy rainfall in the coming days in some states of the Federation, including Oyo State, and recent evidence of ruins occasioned by the early rains of 2022 across the country, the Disaster Management Unit of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has gone the extra mile with a market sensitization in ensuring Oyo State is no longer plagued by perennial flood.
There should be no blockade on waterways. All this unnecessary dumping of refuse, nylon bags, bottled water, all this on the waterway should be prevented.
Lauding the initiative, the traders promised to do their bit.
We have already alerted our people before. Everybody who use any reviews they use on this market, they must put it inside sack before our vehicle will come and carry it.
Environmentalists believe that proper environmental sanitation is a collective responsibility through proper disposal and collection of waste. In Ibadan, Grace Ayonleke, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. It's back to you, Ruth, in Abuja. Good to see you.
Themia Adebola, good to see you too. The National Institute for Cultural Orientation, NICO, has trained more than 1,000 officers of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps on indigenous languages. At the closing ceremony of the training program in Abuja, the Director, Orientation and Cultural Affairs, NICO, Alex Omijide, who presented the address of the Executive Secretary of NICO, says the training is to enhance the officers' skills and mastery on the three major indigenous languages as a panacea to breaking communication barriers during operations.
They are endangered, so the only way they can survive is if they are used by Nigerians. So the tendency to use foreign languages at the detriment of Nigerian languages will not help our languages.
We are not paying, we are not being charged. And we know how effective communication is. And whether we want to acknowledge it or not, when you see a fellow speak your language or your dialect, you are much more prone to giving him more attention than when somebody speaks a different dialect or different language.
In the past 1 year, NICO has trained hundreds of security personnel on indigenous language proficiency. Recognizing the rights of indigenous people, experts say is crucial in all nature conservation efforts. Onenge Fifes reports on this as a thematic focus at the ongoing African Protected Areas Congress holding in Kigali, Rwanda.
Science has acknowledged that indigenous people protect biodiversity better than protected areas. Yet, they are often excluded from the management and control of conservation programs. Indigenous people are also said to be the most impacted by the creation of protected areas, facing forced eviction, resettlement, and criminal invasion.
Research shows conclusively that deforestation rates
are far lower in territories where these communities have their collective land rights and the freedom to protect their natural resources using their traditional knowledge.
Stakeholders at the African Protected Areas Congress in Kigali want a shift in the paradigm to one that upholds the rights of indigenous people and taps from their wealth of experience in conserving natural ecosystems and expanding protected areas.
Current models for creating protected areas threaten the dispossessed indigenous people of their lands, limit access, impose restrictions on livelihoods, and interfere with the intergenerational transmission of knowledge, violating right to autonomy, security of land, tenure, and self-determined development.
It is therefore imperative that African governments uphold the rights of indigenous and local people for the promotion of good governance and equity in the management of protected areas and the resources therein for the country's benefits.
Recognizing land tenure rights of indigenous people, experts note, will also bring an end to conflicts and save governments enormous resources in the cost of resettlement. On NTA, Fine Face, NTA News.
Back home on education, Kaduna State government has released more than 500 million naira lifeline for the payment of school fees for indigent students in various tertiary institutions in the country. The program is part of the state government's intervention package to encourage indigent to further their education. Umar Ajingi reports.
I just realized.
Juvita Joseph Nog, an indigen of Kaduna State from Jaba local government area, is a daughter to a security guard at Kaduna State University, who at a point had to withdraw this brilliant girl from school for his inability to pay her school fees.
It has been very, very hard for me.
It is now history as the intervention by the Kaduna State government has taken over her responsibility till she graduates.
They've released the burden off him, and I'm going to make sure that I make my parents proud and my community as well.
The scholarship, which covers the tuition fees of about 2,000 students in various institutions in Kaduna State, is in two categories, and the selection of the students is based on merit. 21-year-old Ali Usman is the overall best student in the Department of Building Engineering in Kaduna State University.
Due to economic problems in the family, I started to learn handwork.
The governor of the state, Nasru Ahmad Erufai, says financial difficulties will no longer be the reason why brilliant children from the less privileged families drop out from schools.
This is in line with our commitment that no student whose parents are poor, who applies and qualifies for tertiary education, is shut out of school. No child below the age of 18 or who has not completed 12 years of free compulsory primary and secondary or technical or vocational education may be taken out of school for any reason.
The window for applying for such scholarship by outstanding students on the merit-based category is still open. In Kaduna, Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
The 2022 trial census has commenced in Brass local government area of Bayelsa State, with community leaders expressing commitment to successful exercise. Aya Prezi monitored the exercise in Brass Island and now reports.
The essence of the trial census, among other things, is to test run this exercise in a particular local government area with a view to identifying specific issues and ensuring that such hiccups are well handled in the real census in 2023. The choice of Brass local government area with its peculiar, predominantly riverine terrain presents logistics and settlement pattern of the people as major challenges. However, the positive attitude of the people and their leaders makes the exercise something of great success in view.
The community and the entire people are always cooperative with the workers.
Series of meetings that took place of enlightenment.
If our number is known, it will enable the government to be able to plan
thank God today. At least people will know that in Okoma we have this figure, and then people do exist here.
Bayelsa State Commissioner for National Population Commission, Gloria Izonfor, and other personnel deployed for the trial census look forward to successful exercise, even as they express determination to deliver on the national assignment.
We should all make sure that we perform our civic responsibilities to be counted.
80% of our work must be done beyond brass.
To be special logistics arrangements for this terrain, and even the timing. They may not run the same time with the other people.
The trial census is expected to run off before the end of July 2022. In Tuombras, Bayelsa State, Aya, Prezi, NTA News.
National Chairman of Labour Party Julius Abure has called on all Nigerians who are of age and yet to register to do so within the remaining days before the deadline set by INEC. Addressing some youth leaders and group of transporters at the party's secretariat, the chairman reminded Nigerians that the desired change in the country is only possible when people participate in the election process, which begins with registration. He's however optimistic that the 2023 general elections will set a new template for Nigeria's political development.
It's not about religion. We have a responsibility to first convert those who are on the fence to join us, and then we go and convert those who are on the other side.
The youth who congratulated the party and the presidential candidate, Peter Obi, on his 61st birthday, urged the party to monitor the registration at the grassroots in order to achieve its goal. All right, next is sports update.